want to make sure that all of our key points are subordinate to the topic, that they're all working to explain or argue for that idea. But we should also look to see how well they're working with one another. And that brings us to the subject of this video, coordination and discreteness. To begin with, are your key points coordinated, meaning they work well together? And are they discrete, meaning they don't overlap with each other? So we want points that are logically related to one another, but each point should cover a separate idea. If the points blur together too much, the speech can be more confusing. And this is important for a 5-minute long speech, it's important for a 55-minute long speech. And coordination and discreteness can be tricky, because often what happens is people come up with their first key point in a speech, and they're thinking it up, and they come up with that first point, and it's huge, it's massive, it includes everything. And then they struggle to figure what else they're going to talk about in that speech. So let me show you an example of this. Let's say someone asked me to talk about the communication major here at the University of Washington. Well, my first pass might look something like this. So I'm arguing the thesis. The communication department has lots of great programs. We have a wide range of excellent undergraduate programs, and our study abroad program is outstanding. Okay, that's not bad, but that first key point is everything, right? The second key point is tiny in comparison. And actually, if you think about it, the first key point replicates the thesis, right? It's like me saying, we have a lot of great programs to begin with. We have a lot of great programs. And that first point is so big, it actually encompasses the second key point. So the study abroad program is an undergraduate program. So I need points that are more coordinated and balanced. So let's revise this. All right, so now what we have is a little bit better. So we've got these 3 points. We have exciting academic research programs, excellent professional development programs, and a wonderful study abroad program. Okay, so now I have 2 large points. Academics and professional development are about the same size and scope, and when I deliver the speech, they'd probably take up about the same amount of time. But I still get to keep that study abroad point if I want to. But if you look at these, there's no real overlap between these points. They're covering separate topics. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that every point in a speech should be the exact size and the exact same length. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that there should be a clear rationale driving the arrangement of your key points. So here's another example. Let's say you're a climate researcher and you're speaking to a non-scientific audience, sort of a general audience, and this is what you come up with. All right, so the thesis, the topic is, I study solar impacts on Arctic ice. And your first point is, what does climatology study? And then you've got the second point, September Arctic sea ice is now declining at a rate of 13% per decade. Okay, that goes from very broad to very deep very quickly, right? And most of us fall into this trap at some point. We know our specialty and we want to talk about it, but we need to move in a more balanced way. So we could revise this. We could revise it to something like, I'm a climatologist studying solar impacts on Arctic ice. So start off with answering the question, what does climatology study? So you can start out pretty broad, right? Then we can talk about what solar impacts tell us about climate change. All right, here you're taking a step deeper into the content. And then finally, we can talk about why Arctic ice is a good way to study climate change. So you end on your research subspecialty. If you look at this, each key point takes us deeper into the topic, but in logical, measured steps. So your key points need to be subordinate to the topic. They need to be driving that topic forward, but they should also be coordinate and discrete. Each key point should cover a slightly separate idea, and an audience member should be able to recognize the logic of your arrangement. So in this video, we're going to talk about 4 strategies for writing good key points. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about English here. The need to be memorable cuts across languages. The tools are different, but in many cases, the goals are the same. The question is, how can we phrase key points well? The phrasing on a key point's not the entire point. It's just there to help the listener understand what you will talk about. So basically, I want the key point language to hold a spot in the listener's mind, and I'll fill that spot when I get to that point in the speech. So let's say I was delivering a key point speech on making public speaking a university requirement. I came up with these points. You can see here, these key points are crazy long, right? Though the existing list of requirements is rather long, we could easily add public speaking to the list in a way that doesn't disrupt too many majors and other activities. All right, that's too long, too much detail. In essence, I'm trying to argue the entire point in its phrasing. I don't need to do that. It's hiding the important information. So get rid of that hot mess. Okay, now this is better. Making public speaking a requirement is doable. Making public speaking a requirement is good for a university education. So this version cuts down each key point to its essential ideas. So since we're writing concisely, each word has to do a lot of work. Now, let's say you work for a nonprofit organization that deals with biomedical industries. I don't know why I came up with that example. That's got to apply to like one human being watching these videos ever. But anyway, so let's say that's what you are, and a potential donor walks up to you and says, hey, tell me a little bit about your organization. What do you do? All right, let's say this is what you come up with. We investigate biomedical industries. We equip people to be better consumers. We push for industry improvements. Okay, investigates, equip, push. So these are evocative and detailed, right? With these words, you've given me a flavor of what you're going to do in that point. Investigates implies an attitude that's just not there if you say, well, we look at biomedical industries, right? Investigate sounds more like a watchdog role. So I guess what I'm saying here is be very deliberate with the words that you choose. So you want the key terms to carry most of the weight. And generally, this means putting the key terms at the beginning or at the end of the phrase. So again, let's say I'm arguing to make public speaking a graduation requirement. I want the important terms to fall at the end of the point. So here's what I come up with. Such a requirement is doable, and it would be good for a university education. So in this case, I can front load the sentence with the known material, public speaking requirement, and then I can have the unknown material at the end. Now, when I deliver the point, those words will probably receive more oral emphasis, right? Such a requirement is doable, and it would be good for a university education. And you can move the key terms to the beginning of the phrase, the middle of the phrase. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is trying to drive the listener's attention to the key concept within the phrase. Parallel phrasing is simply repeating part of the phrase across different points. So again, if I was talking about my job as a speech professor, I might make the speech look like this. I teach, I do administrative work, I engage in public outreach. Man, that's about as minimal repetition as you can get, but nevertheless, it typically sounds good. At the very least, it sounds deliberate. So speech writing is tough. It has to be short, it has to be memorable, it has to work. That's some parallel phrasing right there. But you can practice this type of writing by crafting concise key points and using evocative words. This week focused on designing solid, memorable key points. So, as you'll recall, we started with a discussion of the key point speech. So this assignment and its rubric is the exercise we're going to use to strengthen our speech skills. So it's important that we understand it. Next, we talked about using an argument model for our speeches. Many times, the chunks that we work with in a speech are really just a collection of claims, support, and warrants. Then we work through our key points. Now remember, Aristotle's prompts can help you come up with those 2 to 5 key points. Once you've got those, you should arrange them in a way that they're subordinate to the thesis or to the key idea, and they're coordinate and discrete with one another. And then when we get to phrasing, the focus is on phrasing these concisely, but really paying attention to where the key term is in that phrase itself. So I hope this week has given you some tools to help you better prepare speeches. And having discussed the key points this week, what we're going to do next week is we're going to move on to inventing, arranging, and phrasing the support. But also what we're going to talk about next week is how to remember and deliver that arrangement well.
Hi everyone, my name is Wei Zuo, and I'm instructional consultant at the University of Washington Center for Teaching and Learning. Center for Teaching and Learning is a space and institute to support teaching all over the campus. So UW staff who teach classes, UW faculty and graduate students will come to us to find support and resources. There are many different things I do in my daily job, but 3 main areas include teach, hosting events, and also organize workshop. Let me walk you through my daily responsibilities. Number 1, teaching. We offer graduate school students different courses that will help them to increase their teaching ability and offer them resources. Students from all kinds of departments and with various teaching experience. Some has been teaching their own course, while some just get started. So it will be challenging to teach students who are graduate level of different teaching experience from all different disciplines. Courses we offer at CTL, Center for Teaching and Learning, including from campus to career, TA/RA preparation, teaching with technology, teaching framework, and theories. It's very inspiring and encouraging to me as an instructor to teach those students because I learn with them and I improve together with them. Second part of my daily responsibility is organize events. TA/RA conference is our biggest event throughout the year, and more than 800 new RA and TAs will come to our events every year. So as a part of the team, I will work with other instructional consultants to help with registration, preparing the material, train the meeting facilitators, and greet them, answer all the questions they have. Other events throughout the year, we also have symposium. That is the events that graduate students and faculty, they can share their research work on teaching and learning. Faculty fellow training, that the new faculty arrive at the University of Washington will attend this 3-day-long workshop facilitated by more experienced faculty. Being a part of the team facilitating different events helped me learn and grow professionally as well. Last but not least, in my daily responsibility is to give workshops. Requested by different departments and programs, we instructional consultants will go to programs to give trainings and workshops. And the topic can vary from active learning, inclusive teaching, curricular design, teaching with technologies. So it's very, very interesting to see the dynamics and different atmosphere in different departments. So it's really nice to share with you 3 main responsibilities that I do in my daily job: teaching, events, and also workshop. This is my first year being teacher as an instructional consultant at Center for Teaching and Learning, and I had a lot of fun with it. I really love my job, and I will continue being a better instructional consultant.